Hello, welcome back to another Fire Drill podcast. This is Alan Shipnuck. I am joined by Ryan French at home in Michigan, and we have our special guest today, Andy Ogletree, coming in hot from Alpharetta, Georgia. Before we get to them, let me just thank our sponsors who make this stuff possible. Of course, we have PowerPoints, our favorite golf scoring app. Our friends at Dormy Workshop, they make beautiful artisanal leather goods. We sell them at the firepitcollective.com in the Fire Pit shop, and the code is FIREDRILL. You get a nice discount. We always appreciate our corporate sponsors who let us do cool things like this. So we want to welcome in Andy Ogletree, of course, U.S. Open champ, who's had
I'm a U.S. Am champ.
Yeah, U.S. Amateur champ, U.S. Open champ. U.S. Open. That's fine.
Take the upgrade, man. My apologies. Yes, U.S. Amateur champ who has had a non-traditional start to his professional career. We're going to talk about that and his dalliance with LIV Golf and where it all goes from here. So, Andy, thank you for doing this. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to it.
So let's talk about the U.S. Am victory. You know, it's obviously a career highlight. It was just played recently, and we were all tuned into a pretty epic match. It's a very exclusive fraternity. I mean, as the years go by and you look back on that victory, how much does it mean to you in reflection?
Yeah, like you said, the years have gone by for sure. It's kind of old news at this point, and when I think back, it seems like such a long time ago. So many things have happened since then. But obviously, it's just special memories. What a great week. And it's opened the door to a lot of opportunities for me. So I owe a lot of what I'm able to do now thanks to that week. And, that week was super cool. I can't wait to talk about it, remember it a little bit.
I mean, it does touch off this unusual, almost like internship, right? You have to stay an amateur to cash in these great exemptions, and
right.
It creates a little bit of a limbo. I remember Bryson DeChambeau called it an internship when he was the U.S. Am champion. Because
for me, it locked me in for about another year and a half. Traditionally, when you win the U.S. Am, it looked like everything was going to come into place perfect for me. I won the U.S. Am after my junior year of college. I had always planned to stay 4 years and graduate from Georgia Tech. So I win the U.S. Am after my junior year. Everything's great. I'm going to play my senior year. I'm going to play the Walker Cup. All these dates are kind of lining up perfectly. I'll play the Masters in November, and then I'll play the NCAA Championship, then turn pro and hopefully play 7 events on the PGA Tour that season. I kind of had all of that lined up for that summer, and then COVID happened. So I think it was March 14th that the world kind of shut down. Our senior season got canceled. They announced all spring sports in NCAA will be canceled starting March 14th. There's going to be no championships. All that stuff happened. So that happens. The Masters gets postponed in November. We don't really know when we're going to play any tournaments. I have a couple of sponsor exemptions that I can still play as an amateur, obviously, because they're direct qualifications for winning the U.S. Am. So those were the invitationals. Colonial, I could have played Bay Hill. I didn't play because of a college event, but I could have played Bay Hill, and then Hilton Head and Memorial. So I played all of those that summer. So that gave me something to play in, which was great. And then I waited until November, obviously, to turn pro and after the Masters.
I mean, it's always a challenge for the U.S. Amateur champ to kind of balance business and life and the opportunities you're turning down. I mean, what did you give up by staying an amateur? I mean, did you have offers on the table to turn professional right away?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I could have turned professional and played that summer. I probably just would have moved up my timeline. I was more than likely going to get 7 events on the PGA Tour. And so I could have gone ahead and taken my 7 events that summer. And, obviously 3 of those I would have just played the same tournaments I played anyway, being Colonial, Hilton Head, and Memorial. So I would have had those, and then I would have hopefully gotten 4 more sponsor invites throughout the summer. But, I mean, when it all turned out, I basically didn't turn down much to wait until November. I just had to wait until November. Some unfortunate events happened after November that kind of set me back a little bit and made my route much more untraditional.
Andy, just to be clear, like if the Masters was played at its normal time that year, you would have played the Masters and then turned pro and got 7 exemptions as a pro, right? And then obviously, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would have played the Masters in April. I would have played the NCAA championship at the end of May, and then I would have turned pro early June and hopefully played 7 events, including the U.S. Open, and I would have been able to play all those as a pro.
Just for those listening, and then what that would have done to Andy's career is he plays those as a pro, you get non-member points. If he plays decent enough, at minimum, he's in the Korn Ferry Finals with a chance to get his PGA Tour card, or at worst, be a full member of the Korn Ferry Tour. So the timing of COVID and all of those things really obviously worked against Andy in this case.
That wasn't just me, obviously. That was a lot of players turning pro that year, and there was no Q school that following fall. So everybody was basically in a limbo state for 1.5 to 2 years. It was great for the guys that had their tour card already, and it was great for the guys who maybe played bad on tour and got an extra year, or maybe, some guys got stuck on the Korn Ferry Tour for 2 seasons that were going to qualify for the PGA Tour. So there was a lot of guys that got, dealt a bad hand from that timeline. But my situation was definitely unfortunate.
So fast forward now, that takes us all the way through the end of 2020. So you get into early 21 and you don't have a ton of options, right? What was your decision making?
Turned pro the week after the Masters. Obviously another special week for me, and finished in low am, and that whole experience was so cool. Getting to play with Tiger and getting to be in Butler Cabin at the end of the week, and all the stuff that came with that was awesome. It was a great segue into me turning pro. I'd kind of accomplished everything I wanted to do as an amateur, and then everything was unfolding. I was still hopefully going to get my 7 events on the PGA Tour, I hoped, and I had a lot lined up, and I played in 3 before having hip surgery. So everything was kind of still in place. I hadn't lost much at that point. I was just basically delayed 6 months of my process from kind of when I thought I would be doing this step in my career. It was basically 6 months after, but played 3 events and then had to have hip surgery. So that was obviously detrimental. I played those events hurt. I thought I could kind of tough it out. I was like, maybe I can at least play well in a couple of events to get me enough points to get into Korn Ferry Finals and then kind of go that route. But I wasn't able to get there, and didn't play well in my events. I realized I couldn't compete against, some of the best players in the world when I wasn't feeling fully 100% healthy. So I needed to get that figured out, and, I had to go have surgery.
When did you sustain the injury?
I don't really remember a specific date or like a specific event that happened. I was like, that was that moment that tore my hip. But I had a torn labrum and a cam FAI impingement. So basically extra bone growth around the hip socket, and all the rotation on my left hip over time just tore my labrum in half. And I was bone on bone, and I was having a hard time walking, much less turning, hitting a golf ball. So I started the year out at Torrey Pines, played okay, but missed the cut, played bad on the South course, and didn't take advantage of the North. And then the next week was a Monday qualifier in Scottsdale. So I went from Torrey to Scottsdale. I was going to play the Monday, and then I was in the next week at Pebble Beach. And that week in Scottsdale, I remember my hip just killing me, and I didn't Monday, but Ollie Schneidergens and I stayed out in Scottsdale because it's a great place to practice. It was cold in Atlanta. We didn't want to come home, so we stayed out there and practiced all week. And I was like, man, my hip's just killing me. And then I get to Pebble Beach the next week, and I was smoked. My hip was in such pain, and I kind of suffered through that week, and then drove down to LA. I was going to play Riviera the next week. I was in there, and so I get to Riviera, and I had to withdraw on Monday. And I took like a month off before Punta Cana and gave it one last more try, and just wasn't able to do it. So I called my surgeon walking off the 18th green. I said, schedule it. Let's go ahead and let's do the hip surgery. So in that month between Riviera and Punta Cana, I went and had imaging done, and he told me, I was going to have the surgery within a few months. He just didn't know when it would be. He said, you'll know when the time's right. So I called him after Punta Cana and said, I know the time's right. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Did that. And I knew if I had the surgery then I could play Q school that year. And that was kind of my hope, to at least be able to play Q school and give myself hopefully guaranteed status. That was kind of the goal the whole time. So that was the reason I went ahead and had the hip surgery.
Andy, I mean, take us back to just like trying to work through play through the pain, because I think very few people kind of understand how fleeting in the politics and all the stuff that goes on with sponsors exemptions. Even if you're the USAM champ, you're out 6 months and it's like people forget who you are. So you're just like, I got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's very well said. People forget very quickly. Golf's very much a game of what can you do for me right now, and rightfully so. You want to take the players that are hot and take the players that kind of have done something recently. So those sponsor invites are very hard to get, and fortunate for me, I was able. It was soon enough after the low am at the Masters that people kind of were still remembering me, and I was able to get all those sponsor invites starting out that year. But after hip surgery, it was a little different. I wasn't able to get any sponsor invites, and we'll get into some of that after Q school and kind of what happened after that. But yeah, those sponsor invites are very hard to get. I think they're harder to get on the Korn Ferry Tour than even the PGA Tour, and for reasons we don't have to.
One day we'll tell that story.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah. There's a lot of politics that go involved in those sponsor invites on both tours, I think. So after hip surgery, I was feeling great. I had a great 6 months recovery, and everything was looking good. I was playing some good golf. I went and played. My first tournament back was a G Pro Tour event in September, and I was advanced to second stage, so I wanted to play a little bit of golf before I went to second stage of Q school. I went and played a G Pro Tour event. I won that. That was my first event back post hip surgery. Everything's great. I got a sponsor invite to Sanderson Farms. It's near my hometown in Mississippi. And I've known the tournament director for a while. He gave me a spot, and which I was, obviously super thankful for. I had 2 events to play before Q school. I got into contention actually at Sanderson Farms and had a bad Saturday, but I had a really good tournament and gave me a lot of confidence going into Q school. I was ready to go. All the hard work that I'd done for 6 months was paying off, and everything was kind of a go. So here we go to Q school. I get to second stage. I lose by 1, but play great. I think I shot like 18, 19 under par. I don't remember. It was in Dothan, Alabama. But yeah, so Q school went great. I get to final stage. I pull a muscle in my elbow on Sunday right before the tournament starts. I play no practice rounds. I go get a cortisone shot the night before the first round. And I couldn't swing the golf club. Somehow I was able to make a lot of putts the first round and shoot a few under. But after that, it started raining, got super cold and windy in Savannah. And I shot a million, finished like 100 at final stage. And I didn't really know how detrimental that could be for the rest of the year.
So we're back at Q school. How did you hurt your elbow?
Yeah, so it was super cold in Atlanta. Obviously in November, you never know what you're going to get in Atlanta. And it was really cold the week before, but I wanted to get some practice in. So I went to the indoor hitting bays at Golf Club of Georgia, and there's like a little trench in the mat.
Oh no.
But I hit it out of the trench, and it kind of just caught it just right. I don't know what happened. Caught it just right in the little trench, and it kind of just caught my wedge, and it snapped my elbow. And it was so swollen, looked so gross. Called my physical therapist he had done my hip surgery rehab, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, we've spent 7 months getting you ready for Q school, and then this freak accident happens." So he rushed me in. It was a Sunday. He rushed me into his clinic. He opened it up. It was like, late in the afternoon. He was actually at like his kids' volleyball practice or something. And he was like, he knew that when I called him, the tone of my voice, I was in some serious pain and hurting and whatnot. So he rushed me in, did some dry needling to it, and then he's like, you don't need to go to final stage. And I'm like, no, I'm going to final stage. This is all I've worked for the past 7 months. And even, back before that, it was, I'd missed Q school the year before because of COVID. So this was like a whole 2-year cycle leading up to this event. And, my elbow's the size of a balloon. So I go down Monday morning, just like I'm going to go to Savannah. That was my original plans. I called Mac Barnhart, my agent, and I was like, Mac, this is what's going on. He called one of his doctor friends, Dr. Topper, down in Sea Island. Dr. Top's got a practice in Brunswick, so he brought me in for imaging on Tuesday, and then I think I got a cortisone shot on Wednesday to play the tournament. And I was icing the whole week. I got to walk the course, obviously, but I couldn't hit any balls. Dr. Top's like, he was like, we've done all we can do. Go try and see what you can do on Thursday. But he was like, don't hit a ball until Thursday.
Wow.
And he didn't make it any worse. So I literally, from Sunday to Thursday, didn't hit a single golf shot. Didn't know if I was going to be able to play, but I knew I had to at least hit a shot off the first tee. If you hit a shot off the first tee at final stage, you technically you can withdraw and finish last in the tournament. But at least you keep your conditional status. If you withdraw before the tournament starts, you don't even keep your conditional status. So, I hit a shot off the first tee, ended up shooting. I think I shot like 400 or 500 the first round, and we were like, okay, here we go. Let's see what we can do. And then the second round, I went to the other course and hit like 3 balls out of bounds, shot a million. So. Yeah.
Does your mind ever go to a dark place and you think about how your life could have been different if it wasn't for that little goddamn trench in the mat?
Yeah, it really could. I would have been off and running. I was playing so well, coming back from surgery, and I was in a good space mentally. Everything was good, and yeah, so that was super unfortunate. And as soon as the tournament ended, I knew I had to find a way to get into some tournaments. So I had to get sponsor invites, or I had to Monday qualify. So as soon as the tournament ended, I start emailing Bahamas. I start emailing the South American events. I start emailing Louisiana. I start emailing all these different places, the LIV down in Florida. I've had hours and hours of conversations with all of these tournament directors, tons of emails. I was told literally 3 days after final stage that all the spots in my category were already taken for the Bahamas. I don't know how that's possible. PGA Tour sponsor invites are given out, 2 weeks-ish before the event. But somehow my category was already given for LICOM, already given for Bahamas. For Bogota, I think they were already given theirs. They probably gave them to local guys, or I don't know what the deal was. But yeah, it was very interesting how that whole system works. I was told, like I said, 3 days after Korn Ferry Finals that all the spots were already given out. So maybe it's coincidence. Maybe, in my opinion, the spots are being sold still. So that's just my take. That's where I'm at.
Andy, first, we can definitely touch on the exemptions too, but just kind of give people a perspective of what finishing 100th at Q School was. People think that like you get to final stage and you're like, oh, everything's golden. You basically have to finish in the top 40. Maybe if you miss by one shot, you're going to get a lot of tournaments. But where Andy finished, basically you're going to get into maybe 5 tournaments in a year, and they're going to be, not that there's any, but they're going to be later in the season and all this kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, that was kind of my understanding. I thought I might get into a couple of events later in the year. I thought I might get into maybe Bogota or Panama, because a lot of people don't travel to those places. I thought I would get into the BMW, which was, a large field because it's 3 courses. I thought I might get in a few of those events. So that was kind of my hope, but I never got into a single event. Based off the reshuffle this year and how everyone wanted to play, every event. I just never got into a tournament. So I was traveling the Southeast and kind of all over playing all these Monday qualifiers. I was playing a lot of mini tour events in between, and the season got to the point where there was 2 events back to back in Louisiana, and I had been talking to a tournament director in Louisiana. I'm not going to say his name. I had been talking to the tournament director for one of the events, and he told me, he was like, between you and me, you're going to get into this tournament. We're going to give you a sponsor invite. And I'm like, okay, awesome. So there's an APT Tour event right before that event in Louisiana. And I was like, sweet, I'll go to this APT event. This will be like a gear up for this tournament, and play the APT. And then I get a call during that event. I was at the movie theater with my dad, actually. And I remember walking outside, and he was like, hey, the tournament committee pulled this sponsor invite from me. They decided to give it to Ryan Ruffles.
Oh, geez.
And wow. That was just like the complete, that was the low point of this whole year, because I had finally thought I was going to get a spot to play in a Korn Ferry event. And if I was able to play in one event, that's what I keep telling the tournament directors. I just need one tournament. I don't need a bunch of tournaments. I don't need 3 or 4. I need one event, because if I can get in one, it's all up to me after that point. I can play my way into the reshuffle. I can play my way into, full status on this tour, but please just give me an opportunity to play one event. I'm not playing well in the Monday qualifiers. Mentally, I'm not there. I'm not doing great in them. And every week you got to go shoot 6, 7, 8 under par just to get through. So, wasn't doing that, wasn't playing well enough to get in on my own, and wasn't given an opportunity to play. So that was kind of the low point of the whole thing. I remember being just super devastated. I was supposed to play another APT Tour event, and I called Mac, and I'm like, I'm going home. I'm tired of being on the road. I'm tired of playing these Mondays. I finally thought I was going to get an event, and it got pulled from me last second. So this is just kind of the low point of this whole year, kind of stretch for me.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in a Comfort Suites in Louisiana, and my bed's broken, and it's got old red carpet, and it smelled like cigarettes. And I'm just like, this is not what I expected, my pro career to look like at this point. Not that there's anything wrong with that traditional route and grinding it out on Mondays and, doing that stuff, but it's just not where I saw myself being based off the opportunities that I'd had. And, obviously good golf could have taken care of a lot of that, but I didn't do what I needed to do to get full status. And whether that be because of injury or because of whatever, at the end of the day, I didn't play well enough to give myself those opportunities. So that's something I'm going to have to live with. But I tried as hard as I can. And I remember calling Mac, and I was saying, I just need somewhere to play, Mac. I need some type of start. I need some type of tournament to get ready for that matters, a tournament that I can get out of bed for, a tournament that I'm excited to go practice. I'm excited to go play. At this point, I'm just like super frustrated with golf. I'm not getting into the Mondays. I'm not playing well. I'm not getting into the Korn Ferry events. And I'm traveling all across the country playing these mini tour events, trying to make ends meet. So it's a tough road. And, everyone has to go through tough times at some point, but that was pretty much rock bottom for me. And so Mac and I kind of went back to the drawing board. We were able to find the International Tour Series for the Asian Tour. And they were happy to have me in the first event in Newcastle. So that was like the first glimpse of hope for me to be able to play in an event that mattered. And then I was approached for the first LIV Golf Tour event in London. So yeah, that's kind of where I was at that point.
Let's just back up just a little bit. So, when you hit rock bottom, that's you're now kind of early spring of 2022. You've been a pro for 2.5 years. How are you making ends meet? Like, what is the financial situation at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it's not great because I turned pro. Every equipment manufacturer says money's down because of COVID, so I don't get kind of the traditional USAM type of situation there financially. It's kind of traditionally I've kind of heard what other guys have gotten, and numbers were a little down because of COVID, which is fine, whatever. And then I have to take 6 months off due to hip surgery, and that rehab was super expensive. I was seeing a really good physical therapist a couple times a week. I was spending $220 an hour on physical therapy, and I did that for 6 months. So definitely adds up very quickly. I wasn't able to play in any tournaments, so I wasn't able to get any equipment money. I wasn't able to get my bonuses based off of getting Korn Ferry status or getting PGA Tour status. I wasn't able to get any of that. So, I was definitely to a place. I'd been playing all these mini tour events and not playing well and spending crazy amounts of money. All of February, I stayed in a hotel every night. I played a tournament. I think I played 9 times before March, 10 times before March this year. So I was traveling the world. I went to Hawaii this year to play a Monday qualifier. I Mondayed into Sony. I missed the cut by 1, finished 66th, and an amateur made the cut, which is a whole nother thing. But so I finished 66th, and an amateur made the cut, and I missed the cut. So in Hawaii, that trip cost me $10,000 probably. I can sit here and name stuff that costs a lot of money all day in this profession, but basically I needed to play some Korn Ferry events. I needed to get into bigger events. I needed to get full status. I was gonna run out of money, just simply put. I'm all of my golf by myself. My parents were fortunate enough to provide me an opportunity to go to college and get an education and play junior golf and do all of these great things. And I'm super thankful for everything they've given me, but they're not going to provide for, chasing these Monday qualifiers and fund my golf career. And rightfully so. I mean, it's a crazy expensive profession. And, some kids are lucky enough to have endless amounts of money, but, I grew up in a small town in Mississippi, unincorporated community. And we didn't have that kind of money to kind of fund that lifestyle of trying to play professional golf.
Andy, I have to assume that part of that, once you're you finish poorly at final stage after an injury and you're playing mini tours, and I've talked to a lot of top guys that have gone through what you're going through. I assume that part of the struggle is mentally this is not how this was supposed to go. Here I am playing mini tours. It's obviously golf related, but mentally it has to be a struggle. I wasn't supposed to be playing Mondays. I'm not supposed to be playing mini tours. And that, I assume, just takes time to get over, to be okay that you're playing G Pro events.
For sure. Yeah. And, that was the conversation I had with Mac when I was in Louisiana. I just said, Mac, I'm not having fun playing golf. This is not what I want to be doing. If this is how golf's going to be, I'm going to have to take a step back and reevaluate everything and get to a place mentally that I can be happy with being at a G Pro Tour event. I can be happy with chasing a Monday. I can be happy doing these opportunities and look at it more as an opportunity and not, oh, poor me. I'm in wherever, whatever state I'm in playing a Monday. So, yeah, I mean, it's 100% mental. And if you can get to a place where, you're happy to be there and you're thankful for the opportunity and you're looking forward to it and, all these things, you can play some good golf and you can turn your career around pretty quickly. It only takes one good week in golf. And I think, we've seen that over and over again. Cameron Young was exactly where I was in a hotel and, wherever playing Monday qualifiers a year and a half ago. So it can happen really quickly, is what we've learned from guys like that. But I wasn't to that place yet.
So when you went over to the international series event over in England, did you, in the back of your mind, think it might be an audition for LIV Golf?
It's kind of an audition. I mean, I knew that they were going to have some spots in the first LIV event were going to come from that first international series. So, but when I left to go to Newcastle, I already knew that I was going to play the next week in London.
Okay, cool. So when that offer was presented to you for LIV, I mean, based on everything we've heard up to this point, it's obviously a no-brainer. You need somewhere to play golf. And
I needed somewhere to play golf. That's the bottom line. It wasn't about, I mean, I know everyone said it's not about the money. The money is definitely great.
It's about the money for you. Right. And you need a place to play.
It's somewhere to play, and it provided great financial situation for me to be able to, fund my golf for the next couple of years. So for me, it was a complete no-brainer. I had nowhere else to play. That week of London, there was no G Pro Tour event. There was no Korn Ferry Tour event. There was no Monday qualifier. There was nowhere else for me to play, literally. So, I had an opportunity to play in a golf tournament, and I took it. If that would have been an international series in Singapore, like I just did 2 weeks ago, I would have gone. If it's the Colorado Open, like I just did, I would have gone. The week after the first LIV event, I went and played a G Pro Tour event. I need to play golf. It's pretty simple. I didn't get in a single event on the Korn Ferry Tour. I've never played a Korn Ferry Tour event, and I didn't have an opportunity to play, so I needed somewhere to play.
Was there anyone in your orbit who cautioned against it because of discomfort where the money was coming from, or knowing that it was going to complicate your path back to the PGA Tour potentially?
Definitely not an issue about where the money was coming from. I think that was more so just the only defense the tour had based off this other tour at the time. Whatever. It was, for me, I just kind of did my own research and talked to the smartest people I know, and everyone said Saudi Arabia is an ally of the United States, and they supported me fully with whatever I wanted to do. So, friends and family, I talked to them, consulted them. What do you think? Are you going to think of me any differently? And everyone said, dude, go chase your dream, go play golf. And that's kind of what I went with. So, I don't think anyone around me had any issues with the whole thing, and I don't think anyone thought that my route to the PGA Tour would be any different because of this. No one really thought that I could be suspended based off of the status that I had. I had a conditional status. I basically paid to get status. I paid to have the ability to be suspended. That's kind of where I was at.
Andy, to that point, I've talked to a lot of players. Obviously, I cover a lot of guys like yourself, and I think the majority of I talked to them about, Chase or yourself were more envious that you guys had the opportunity than mad that you took it. What's kind of what has been your feedback from players?
Everywhere I go, players are like, my gosh, dude. They're like, yeah, we would have loved to do the same thing. Everyone keeps asking me why I'm not in the lawsuit against the tour. Everyone keeps asking me or keeps telling me I have the best, you've got the best case ever. Like you didn't even have status and you got suspended and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm not a guy that likes controversy. I never have. I never will. I'm suspended until December, from PGA Tour, Korn Ferry Tour, PGA Tour Canada, PGA Tour Latin America. Everyone thinks that I'm suspended for life because I was put on the same list that came out as everyone else. I don't really agree with how my name was put out there with everyone else. guys that chose a LIV Tour event over a PGA Tour event they were exempt into PGA Tour events. They were exempt into all these things. I had no exemptions. I had no tournament to play. I was chasing Monday qualifiers, so I didn't like that I was grouped into this category of guys that kind of rebelled against the tour or chose a different path. I didn't choose a path. I just chose to play in a golf tournament. So I didn't love how that was handled, but hopefully we'll be able to have a conversation at some point. I'm not going to be in a lawsuit against the tour as of now. I don't want to go that route. I've taken enough backlash from all the things from playing in the first LIV event. I've had people send me hateful things basically every day for months. I've gotten crazy amount of backlash just for playing in a golf tournament. And this is kind of all comes from the tour and the tour's stance against LIV Golf. So kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, that's powerful. Before you decided to play in LIV London, did you have communication with the tour? Did they?
I did.
Yeah.
I called the Korn Ferry Tour player relations and said, look, I'm gonna probably go play in this Asian Tour International Series in Newcastle, and I kind of started with that. And they were like, yeah, we'd be happy to give you a media rights release. Go ahead. They're like, we'll send you the link. You just fill it out. You say what tournament you're going to play in. It's going to get approved. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, I'm also thinking about playing the LIV event the next week. Can you tell me if I'm going to be suspended if I play that? Or can you tell me if I'm going to get approved for a media rights release? And they they told me every media rights release is looked at in its own microscope. They said every player situation's different. Every tournament's different. We're definitely threatened by this LIV Golf series, but we look at every single media rights release in its own classification. And I was like, okay, that sounds kind of promising. Maybe they'll tell me that I don't get a discount on Monday qualifiers anymore. Maybe they'll tell me something. I don't know. I didn't really know what the suspension for me would look like. I figured there would be some type of consequence just because I understand you can't reap benefits of both tours, but I wasn't really reaping a benefit. I was reaping a benefit on Monday qualifiers and TPC Sugarloaf membership. So that was all I was receiving from the Korn Ferry Tour. So I thought maybe that might be taken away, but surely they'll let me keep playing Monday qualifiers or whatnot. But anyway, after I teed off in Newcastle or in London, I opened my phone and I had a denied media rights release for LIV Golf London after I had already teed off. So this is a crazy time. I mean, that's what they do. And I'm not trying to speak out against the PGA Tour at all. I want to get that clear. Growing up, the PGA Tour is where I wanted to play. It's all I ever wanted to do was to be on the PGA Tour. And I would still love to play the PGA Tour. I would love to play the LIV Tour. I would love to play anywhere. I just want to play golf. I love playing golf. I love competition. I love, I just want to be one of the best players in the world. And that's all that I want to do. So everything I do from the time I wake up every single day is to try to get better at golf and see where this game can take me. So that's all I'm trying to do. And I hope we can have a conversation with the tour at some point and just, talk about my situation. I didn't appeal. I don't see a reason to appeal. I think we just need to sit down and have a conversation and say, I don't understand why I am suspended from a tour I never played on and a tour that I paid to get status on. Because let's say I miss at second stage. Let's say I don't get to final stage. I have no status. And then I go play a LIV Golf Tour event, and the Korn Ferry Tour couldn't ban me, couldn't suspend me. So let's say I don't get to final stage, don't finish 100th. Okay, I have no status. I go play LIV the first event, and then I come back and Monday qualify and win the first Korn Ferry event, I'd be playing the LIV Tour and playing the PGA Tour at the same time. That's how it would work. So I basically, because I went to Korn Ferry Q School and made it to final stage, I had the ability to be suspended from the Korn Ferry Tour. So that doesn't make sense to me.
I wish that scenario that you just laid out had happened. That would have been so glorious. The chaos.
Literally could have happened if I didn't make it to final stage. So
that's amazing. So when you were agreed to play at LIV London, was it just a one-off? Was there any promise made going towards future LIV events and or the international series? What was the arrangement for you?
Yeah, so I can play international series for the rest of this year for sure, and possibly next year as well. So that gave me guaranteed place to play this year, gave me some events to play. I got to play the last two international series as well. I just got back from Asia, my first trip to Asia, which was awesome. I went over and played in Singapore, and then I went and played in Jeju Island, South Korea. So getting to play two events over there, I was treated great. The golf courses were awesome. They had physical therapists on site, which is definitely a plus for me. International travel is pretty tough. So I was able to have physical therapists on site, people working with me every day, and I was able to play really well. I finished 15th over there. The second week, had a chance to win on Sunday, but had a bad back nine. But just to be in contention again, playing in a golf tournament, playing in an event that matters, a 4-day event, and with world ranking points and a nice purse was awesome. So I'm looking forward to. I have 4 more of those this year, so looking forward to those. And just try to keep getting in tournaments and seeing where I can play. I basically have like a month and a half off right now because the next international series is still the first week in November in Morocco. So I'm just trying to find somewhere to play right now.
Andy, is it hard to, kind of back to the mental side of it, is it hard to kind of block out the politics? There's like, you're trying to get back and have an opportunity at Q School, you're dealing with a suspension. Is it hard to kind of just go to South Korea or go to Singapore and just try to make it a normal tournament week? Or because of the stuff you've dealt with leading up to this stuff, is he kind of learning to block this shit out, and just tee it up?
To be able to go over there, it's almost refreshing because I never had a single interview. My phone was barely working. I was on the other side of the world. Everyone here's asleep. I've deleted Twitter. I've deleted Instagram. Like I don't have access to all this stuff anymore. So I've kind of learned to block that politics and negativity out of the world. So I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise for me, is learning how to block things out and learning how to deal with adversity. And my college coach at Georgia Tech always said, "How do you eat an elephant?" And I don't know. How do you eat an elephant? He's like, one bite at a time. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're just trying to eat an elephant one bite at a time. We're trying to play some golf and get a little bit better each day. I think eventually all this talk about LIV Golf will kind of subside, and it'll just be another tour that people play on. And that's just how it's going to be. I think they're here to stay. They have unlimited resources, unlimited funds, and when you have unlimited resources and unlimited funds, it's kind of easy to be successful. So we'll see what happens. I think I would love to play golf anywhere. I'm going to keep playing these international series for now, and then do my time, so to speak, until my suspension's over from the Korn Ferry Tour.
You deleted social media because of the LIV backlash?
Yeah. I mean, every day that I opened my phone on Twitter, it was just crazy amounts of tags and comments. Just hateful things. And I just got tired of seeing it.
Yeah, I get that. I don't think the casual golf fan understands how important the International Series and the Asian Tour is to LIV Golf. It really is going to become a feeder system, and they've been a little scarce on the details, but there's going to be a way next year for players to play their way onto LIV Golf through the International Series. Can you bring that to life a little bit for the listeners?
Yeah, so basically the International Series, for the first LIV event, they had 8 players from the Asian Tour that were basically taken from the Asian Tour to the LIV Golf. So they had a certain amount of International Series exemptions based off prior order of merit on the International Series. So I think there was like 3 guys from that. And then I think they took 5 guys from the first the International Series Newcastle. So if you finished top 5 at Newcastle, you were able to get in, and then the top 3 on the order of merit before that. So the second event in Portland, I think they took 6. So they dropped that down to 6. And then for Bedminster, I think they went down to 3, and that's where they're going to keep it at. So top 3 on the current order of merit, the rest of this season will get into LIV Golf events. And then at the end of the year, I'm pretty sure that those 3 players will be exempt on the LIV for the next year.
I mean, that becomes an important point, because one of the criteria to get world ranking points is you have to be an open tour, which you can play your way on and off. It can't just be all invitations. So that's where this comes in from LIV Golf standpoint, is, hey, you have the ability to play your way on. Now, it's not a huge number of spots, but it's also, they're just small fields. So that is what it is.
Yeah, those international series are pretty cool. This year, I think they're anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million purses. And then next year, they're anywhere from 2 to 3 million purses. And next year, they're talking about, they said between 12 and 15 events is what they're going to have next year on the International Series. So that's a lot of events. And I think that might be the biggest threat for the PGA Tour, is the International Series and the Asian Tour, because I mean, I have a lot of friends playing up in Canada right now. I have a lot of friends that play Latin America or Korn Ferry even, and there's guys losing money playing good golf every week. And that's definitely a problem for the PGA Tour. And I think, we're seeing $500 million being released to the PGA Tour, but nothing's being released up to PGA Tour Canada or PGA Tour Latin America or the Korn Ferry Tour. So I think you're going to see some guys say, I can go make a living playing the Asian Tour. I can't make a living playing PGA Tour Canada. Yeah, I'm going to go do that. So, the stars are on the PGA Tour are being protected right now, and they're definitely being awarded great compensation. But the future stars of the PGA Tour are definitely not reaping those benefits right now.
What was the atmosphere like at this International Series event? If just competitively, course setup, like what did it feel like? You've played a lot of different events now and different circuits, but what would you compare it to?
Really big golf courses, like championship golf courses, which is great. That's what I love to see. Any tour that I've played on, you want the courses set up hard, you want the pins set up hard, you want it set up like, so to speak, a tour event. And they were definitely set up that way. They had some good spectators came out, decent crowds, nothing crazy, but over there, the Asian Tour is a big deal. It's shown on TV all the time. They had pretty good media following. Interview rooms and the locker rooms were taken care of really nice. They had 3 physical therapists on site at both events. Really good facilities, driving range, chipping green, putting green. Greens were good. Courses were long and hard. And the competitions was pretty good. The scores were actually a lot lower than I thought they'd be, both weeks. So, I think it's a great thing. And unfortunately, I don't know if you guys have seen, but the PGA Tour just changed the world ranking points for Asian Tour. So that was kind of another blow for LIV Golf. Is these players thought that they could go play Asian Tour International Series and keep their world ranking up. Patrick Reed was very outspoken about, kind of his he was going to support that, and he went and played in Singapore for that reason. And as soon as Patrick Reed played in Singapore, the world rankings became the same world ranking, almost the same as PGA Tour Canada. And there was like, I don't even know how many top 150 players in the world at this Asian Tour event. And there was, the strength of field was a little bit different, and you got the same amount of world ranking points for PGA Tour Canada now as you do Asian Tour. So that's just, I guess the PGA Tour owns official world golf rankings, so that's just how it's going to be.
Well, they don't, but they have an influence on it for sure. And the world ranking is its own independent body, but Jay Monahan sits on the board, and so does the guys who run the RNA, the PGA of America. It's kind of the five families of golf. So they have a lot of history and a lot of incestuous relationships. So the tour theoretically is only one voice, but the obviously the old guard is kind of rallied around each other. So it's an interesting scenario.
Those world ranking points are going to be super slim. You're not going to be able to play your way into the top 50 in the world and play your way into majors and things like that. So that's going to be unfortunate for the Asian Tour. But the purses are going up, and I think you'll see the competition start going up too. A lot of the LIV players in their contracts are going to have to play a certain amount of series events. So you'll see those international series start becoming more and more prevalent.
So Ryan, I know you have to go and pick up your kids, but I can keep Andy a little bit longer. But before you go, just what does this mean to the new world order of golf when you have international series has a $3 million purse, Asian Tour has a $5 million purse? Where does this fit into the overall structure of competitive golf as people are trying to get to essentially the big leagues, which we can all agree is now the PGA Tour and LIV?
Yeah, I mean, Andy touched on it, and Andy knows it, better than I do as he's a player. But just talking to all sorts of players, you can't make a living on the Latin American Tour. You can't make a living on the Canadian Tour, and those tours have basically killed many tours back in the United States. So the G Pro Tour is a very good tour, but you win $10,000 for winning it. There's no Hooters Tour. There's no real mini tour in the United States that you can make a living outside of winning 10 times in a year or 5 times in a year. So, I mean, just like Andy, there's 1,000 players that just want to make a living. And the international series, I think you'll see a lot of people at European Q School. I think you'll see a lot of people at Asian Q School. They just want a place to play. That's it. I know Andy, it's impossible in the social media world. I get 100 comments and one bad one, and I'm like, oh, that's the one I fixate on. For the most part, all the people I talk to, no one's mad. I know, I'm sure you got plenty of messages saying differently. I just think overall, the support for players like Chase Koepka or Andy playing on LIV is far overwhelmingly supportive in the majority of what LIV Golf is. So I think the Asian Tour is going to change the game.
You only see the comments that are bad.
Sure.
But I have had a lot of support from players and people that really understand golf. Anyone who's been in my position before completely understands playing opportunities and somewhere to play golf. So I have to keep reminding myself that for sure.
Andy, I got to get out of here and get my kids from the school bus. All the best, dude, and
thanks.
I look forward to seeing what your career does from here. So all the best. Thanks for being on, man.
We don't need Ryan anyway. He's dead weight. Get out of here, Ryan. Scram. You know I love you. Go. Don't miss the school bus. You got to run along now. Run along. But I mean, just to bring this to life a little bit, I'm looking at the results from Singapore, the event you played in a few weeks ago. I mean, the winner took home $270,000. And that purse was 1.5. So that if it goes, it's going to go up a lot from there. That's real money.
I mean, I think I finished 56, tied for 56 in Singapore, and made like $5,100, which is better than second place in a G Pro. I know we keep talking about the G Pro Tour event. G Pro is awesome. I love that tour. It's a cool place to play, but I mean, that's more money than a second place in a G Pro.
Yeah.
I finished T15 with 10 people the second week and made over 18,000, which is, that's real money. I mean, that's enough money to pay for travel and make a little bit of money. And if you can break even playing on anywhere besides PGA Tour or LIV Golf now, you're doing pretty good.
There's been a little sense like, oh, all these like American pros, nice Southern boys like yourself aren't going to go play golf in Asia. It's too far away. It's too different. What was your interpersonal experience in just being a stranger in a foreign land? Like, how did it feel to play golf over there?
It was so cool. I mean, they really took care of us. They put us in. Everyone stays in the same hotel. There's shuttles every 30 minutes to the course, so you don't have to rent a car. You don't have to really worry about travel. I landed at the airport, had a driver pick me up, take me to the hotel, and other than that, I mean, I had everything else was pretty much catered for me. You have breakfast and lunch at the. My biggest thing is food. I don't like some of those Asian cuisine, but I was able to find food pretty easily. There was a breakfast buffet at the hotel that was pretty American, pretty traditional. They had an omelet station. I could kind of go from there. If I had an omelet station, I'm good. But the food was fine. Well, lunch was at the course every day. Huge buffet. You could kind of find some stuff that you could eat, and then at dinner, all the guys kind of hang out together because everyone stayed at the same hotel. There was guys like James Pyatt, Chase Koepka, Turk Pettit, all these other Americans that I could travel with and go to dinner with. And so I don't think I ate by myself once for 2 weeks, which was super fun. And getting to see different parts of the world, I think is awesome. I've been super fortunate to be able to, chase a white ball around and get to travel the world doing it. So there's a lot of people where I live where I grew up that never really venture out of Mississippi, much less get to travel the world and do all the cool things that I've been able to do. So I have to pinch myself a lot. Just being able to do what I do, playing a game that I love, and it's awesome.
So if the center of gravity of the golf universe goes east and the Asian Tour International Series supplants the Korn Ferry and Canada and Latin America, you don't think there'll be any hesitancy for a lot of Americans to start making those trips?
I don't think so. I mean, I think there's going to be so many events every year that you're going to be able to go play 3 weeks in a row and then come home for a couple weeks, and then 3 weeks in a row, come home for a couple weeks. And the travel is not that bad if you can do it that way. Obviously, if you're having to go play one event and then fly back across the country and play another one, fly back. I mean, that would be a nightmare. But when you can go play 3 in a row, I mean, I was pretty. I'd say my jet lag went away after about 2 days. So, you even for 2 in a row, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Obviously, I got traveler's flu coming back, so fortunate. I've been down bad for about 4 days. I lost about 15 pounds, but it's a blessing in disguise.
Oh, that's a positive attitude right there, Andy. I'm impressed.
Hey, I'm working on it.
So, looking ahead, now that you have this looming, maybe not a battle, but there's some intrigue with what's going to happen with you and the PGA Tour in December. Do you have has there been any back channel communication? Like, do you have any sense if they're going to lift your suspension or they're going to extend it? Like,
I don't know. I'm really curious. In my letter telling me that I was suspended until December, there was a statement that said basically any further events or outspoken comments against the PGA Tour could result in further suspension. So that's that. I don't really know what that means. That's why I'm saying I'm not outspoken against the tour at all. So I've always supported the PGA Tour. I loved watching the FedEx Cup yesterday, or I guess 2 days ago now, and it was just, I love watching golf. I'm a fan of golf. I love playing golf, and golf's kind of always been my life and what I do. So.
Let me speak on your behalf, Andy. That's fucked up. I mean, like to threaten you that way is ridiculous. Like, this is your life.
I've definitely been threatened. So
yeah, I mean, this is your life. This is your journey. You should be able to speak about it freely, and we appreciate your trust in coming on here. But I mean, that's chilling. It's like they're just you're the easiest target here. You don't have status. You're not a past champion. You're not a major championship winner. You're not a Hall of Famer. Like, they're just trying to squash you in all this. It doesn't seem fair.
I've definitely been squashed and thrown into this category of these outspoken guys or guys that have rebelled against the tour, but I'm not like that at all. So hopefully we can sit down at some point and have a conversation about it like men.
Yeah. So you're gonna play the remaining international series events. The goal there would be to get full status on the Asian tour and/or play your way onto the LIV.
Yeah, that would be the goal, to get full status on the Asian tour for next year. I'm a affiliate member right now. I think I probably need to make somewhere around 100,000 to guarantee myself full status for this year, and I'm at about 23,000 right now with 4 events to go. So just a couple of good weeks, and I should be able to lock that up. And then, but the Asian Tour International Series has a lot of sponsor invites. I think they get like 38 sponsor invites into every single event. So I've been fortunate enough to play on those. So, worst case, maybe get some of those and just keep playing on that.
So let's do a little thought exercise here. You play really well in these international series events. You have great status in Asia heading into 2023. You fly to Ponte Vedra Beach. You get wined and dined by Jay Monahan. They welcome you back into the fold. They say, okay, you can play. We'll because of the situation here, we'll grant you full status on the Korn Ferry Tour as kind of a makeup for what you've been through. But you have to renounce Asia, International, and LIV. Like, there's a fork in the road here. It's us or them. Which do you choose?
I don't know. It's gonna be hard. I feel like I've been treated very, very wrongly, and I haven't had any direct communication with anyone high up on the PGA Tour. So if I was able to kind of have some conversations and understand kind of where they were coming from and understand a little better the situation and kind of right some wrongs, then yeah, I might be able to go that route, because I have always wanted to play the PGA Tour. That is, that is what I've always wanted to do. So I still would love to play the PGA Tour at some point in my career. I want to play against the best players in the world. I want to be one of the top players in the world. And I don't think you can do that without playing the PGA Tour or LIV. So yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that out.
But I mean, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but I mean, in that hypothetical,
I'm not going to pick one right now.
No, I know. I don't expect you to, but just to flesh it out, I mean, if they granted you full status on the Korn Ferry, those purses are what, $650,000, $700,000. Asia's $5 million. I mean, at some point, the dream of the tour is you grew up with it, and it's a wonderful place. But you're also, I mean, you're trying to. It's a livelihood. You got to pay the bills, and I mean that's got to be a factor, right?
It would be tough to turn down the Asian Tour and the opportunities financially right now. I think eventually there's going to be something done about the Korn Ferry Tour. It's just there's too big of a difference right now in international series, Asian Tour events, and Korn Ferry, and I think that's probably the next step for the PGA Tour. But I can't speak for them. I just see all this money being dished out to the top players and the top 20 guys. I guess what Pip's now at 100 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, gosh, you could take 15 million to give 10 million to give to the Korn Ferry Tour and double all the purses, and I think that would go a long way just for starters. But hey, nobody asked me.
No, we did. That's why we have you here. But I mean, it is an interesting thing. I mean, I was at the Tour Championship and talked to a lot of people. I think the most vulnerable tour on the planet right now is the Champions Tour, because that money would be much better off to be redistributed, Korn Ferry, Latin America, Canada, and try and build this next generation of stars. If all the guys in there, an entire generation of potential Champions Tour players just went to LIV, right? You're not going to get all those guys in their 40s now. You're not going to get Phil. Tiger's done. Like, the Champions Tour is looking more and more like it doesn't have a purpose. And as you said, the tour's committed so much to its top players, which it had to do, but something's got to give. And
it definitely just seems like kind of a response to LIV. They're not kind of out in front of it at all, in my opinion. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying not to say anything, against the tour, based off of my not wanting to get suspended further. But
you're doing an excellent job of it. I commend your restraint. Well, you haven't said anything that's going to get you in trouble.
My tongue is tied, so more money needs to go to the developmental tours if they want to keep the future stars of the PGA Tour coming to the PGA Tour.
Yeah, that's great. All right, before I let you go, let's just talk about the state of your golf game, because that's what's ultimately going to determine your future, even more than the whims of Jay Monahan. Like, how are you feeling, and why are you optimistic going forward?
I'm just getting better. My body's getting better. I've had a lot of back issues since hip surgery as kind of a compensation. Pretty common injuries. Just I've had a lot of QL, right QL tightness, because my left hip after hip surgery, my left hip is like functioning super well and my right hip is still not great. So I get these imbalances and my left hip gets super high, and then my whole right side of my back just kind of gets some strain. So I'm just having a lot of imbalance issues. So I'm trying to sort through those things, and it's definitely stuff that can be fixed. So I've been working on it for the past few months. It's gotten a lot better. So I'm seeing progress in my body, which gives me a lot of optimism, because I know if my body's feeling well, I know how to fix my golf game. So as long as my body keeps feeling well, I'm super optimistic with where everything's going. I finally have opportunities to play golf somewhere that I'm able to get excited for, and able to kind of get out of bed and work towards a goal. Guaranteed place to play is the bottom line for me right now, and that's why I'm optimistic. I'm able to play these international tour series. I'm able to travel the world, get to see some cool places, and I'm able to make some money in the process. So. Those are all optimistic outlooks.
And despite everything you've been through, because it's been a very challenging road since the U.S. Amateur victory, you still love the game. You still have the passion.
I do. Yeah, I do. I love it. There's been times where I haven't loved it, and there's been times where I didn't really care to go practice. I was pretty down on myself, and frustrated with my golf game, frustrated with how everything was going. But I've gotten past that, and I'm back to a place where all I want to do is practice and see how good I can get at this game that I love. So here we go.
I love it. Well, that's a great place to end right there. It's fascinating. You're just you're at this crossroads here of history, and somewhat unwittingly, but you're in the middle of it all. So everyone's watching, and I know a lot of people are cheering for you, and I won't worry about the small number of naysayers out there, because I think when people hear your story, they're going to understand. Like it's really all you want is a place to play golf. So
literally.
Well, Andy, thank you for your time and your insight. This is Alan Shipnuck. We're going to bring this Fire Drill podcast to a close. Thanks for listening, as always. And we will keep trying to make sense of this ever-changing landscape of professional golf. It's never boring. So that's it for now. Thank you.